Hello, everyone. Very, very happy to be here. Before I jump into anything of what we want to talk about today, we quickly start by introducing ourselves because, yeah, we are here in a lovely combination. It's actually quite funny because exactly 1 year ago at Gamescom, I was introduced to Lisa from Playing for the Planet by Deborah from Supercell. And I am Franzika, I am at Google. And Deborah said, like, we should talk. And that's what we did, I think. And over the last year, we worked together on a wonderful project that we're going to talk to you today about and tell you a little bit more. But it's actually really what the title said. It's like kind of like coming together from very different angles, from a tech partner, from an industry alliance, and from a major game studio, and trying to drive positive impact for a very important topic. And I think also that's what we want to show to you today, right? How can everyone come together, no matter if you're working in a gaming studio, if you're working also in a company that has nothing to do with gaming, but if you're working at an NGO, if you're working at an alliance, if you're working for a major company, everyone can help to drive change. And how we're going to run through that is I'm going to tell very quickly Google's approach to sustainability and why I am in this round. Then I'm going to go over to Lisa, who's talking about how UNEP's Playing for the Planet Alliance is really activating an industry. And then Deborah is going to basically walk the talk and tell you a little bit more how Supercell is actually really rallying up their studios for a more sustainable approach. And we're going to close this out by quickly telling everyone here how they can maybe start and join and also become active no matter what their role is. So to very quickly start this topic, I think everyone actually knows that by now, right? And if we just look at the past couple of weeks, we had endless rain in July in Germany. When we look at Europe, we had unprecedented heat waves in southern Europe. Or if we look at the world, we had wildfires that just happened in Canada and Hawaii. So I think it's no surprise that climate change is real, and it's here, and it's time to act now. So sustainability efforts across every person's personal life, every professional life is no longer nice to have, but absolutely substantial. And I think Google is really saying we need all hands on deck for that as well. There's no company that can solve this challenge alone. And by working on this together, though, there's really many things we can achieve. And I wanted to quickly take you on a journey showing you that actually sustainability has been at the core of Google ever since it was founded a little bit over 2 decades ago. So in 2007, we became the first major company to become carbon neutral for our operations. 10 years later, we reached that goal for 10 consecutive years, but also then became the first major company again to match really 100% of our annual electricity with renewable energy. And then in 2020, we issued the biggest sustainability bond at that time with like 5.75 billion, really saying like, again, I'm going to repeat myself, all hands on deck for sustainability. But we're not stopping there. So in 2020, we announced actually our 3rd decade of climate action, and this is the most ambitious one yet. And what Google is trying to do, or what we committed to, is we want to be net zero across all of our operations and value chain by 2030. And again, that goes back to this kind of like ambitious goal cannot be done alone. We want to lead and we want to share everything we're building. We're building a lot of tools and we're building a lot of technical solutions, but we need everyone, every other company, all of our partners, all of our players, all of the industry initiatives to be part of that, right? And that's a little bit how we came together as well, because Google actually has a lot of touch points with the gaming industry. So we really wanted to amplify our reach here. I mean, we have the Google Play Store with more than 2.5 billion active monthly users, and I think over 240 billion downloads alone in last year. We have the Android ecosystem where there are more than 3 billion active devices. But we also have YouTube, for example, where for gaming alone, there were 120 billion hours of gaming watch time last year. And we have search, right, where people can really inform themselves and also like make a difference, and like we see a greater trend in like sustainability searches across the board. So I think that's a little bit when we were thinking like, yes, of course, like if we really want to change, we need every industry, we need everyone on board. And when I then met Lisa, learned about Playing for the Planet, we were like, yeah, let's do that. And maybe Lisa, now you want to take this over and tell us a little bit about what Playing for the Planet is and how you came to like really activate an entire industry.
Yes, thank you, Franzi. So Playing for the Planet is an alliance in the games industry. We work with the spirit of collaboration and we're not competing. So within the alliance we have game studios, trade buddies, but as Franziska mentioned, we also work with organizations like Google, and together we're trying to act and be better for the environment. So you might wonder, why is the United Nations involved? So first of all, we would love to inspire as many people as possible. Every generation nowadays can be found in games, and the reach within the games industry is unbeatable. Secondly, we would love to inform millions of people around the world that play games and teach them things about the environment and actions that they can take to be better for our planet. And lastly, we would like to enable the industry, game studios on the one hand, trade organizations, and provide them with evidence-based information that is on point so that they can use this to get their internal operations in order, as well as share this with their players. So a quick run-through of Playing for the Planet. The initiative came to life in 2019 and was launched at the UN headquarters in New York. 2 years into the initiative, we already had 60% of our members who have made commitments to become net zero or carbon negative by 2030. And today we have over 40 different members within the industry. Real-world action is happening. Together with all our members, over 3 million trees have already been planted, and we've raised over $1.5 million to support organizations on the ground that do work to preserve ecosystems and other environmental organizations. So our work in a nutshell. On the first pillar we work around is decarbonization. We encourage all our members to understand and actively reduce their carbon footprint that comes with making as well as playing games. Our second initiative is the Green Game Jam, where we try through gaming studios to inspire millions of players around the world to take action for the environment. Each year there's a different theme, there's one goal, and studios that participate are working together to reach this goal. Last but not least, we aim to build a community of like-minded people where people can learn from each other, learn with each other. And we really feel that community is everything, and that's also how we work with each other on a daily basis. Then just to dive a little bit deeper into these 3 different pillars that we work with. So when it comes to decarbonization, we can say that in Scope 3, specifically Category 1 and 11, is where the emissions from our industry are. This became even more clear through a paper that we've recently written with our members, which talks about the boundaries of decarbonization. Then within this work stream, we're also working on creating new frameworks and calculators so that everyone in the industry can more accurately calculate their carbon footprint. And lastly, extremely important, all our members are making strong commitments to decarbonize, and we encourage them to list these things in SBTi or Race to Net Zero platforms. Then for the Green Game Jam, this year was the fourth edition, the Wildlife edition. With the 40 studios that participated this year, we have tried to protect 3 wild ecosystems to save the lives of harlequin toads in the Amazon, snow leopards in the Himalayas, and manta rays in the Western Indian Ocean for a year. We're trying to meet people where they are, which is in games, and we're trying to inspire and empower studios to come up with positive and creative messaging to bring these topics to life in games. So this is not done, you can't do this in one way. There's many different ways to do this. Each game has its own superpower, and therefore each game will have a different approach to it. And I wanted to share 3 short examples here. The first one is Love and Pies by Trailmix, a developer from the UK. They have this year created a community event where they inspired all their players to work together to reach a certain goal in the game, really highlighting that this is something that not one person should be working on, but something that we need to do together. On top of that, they've also used their storytelling feature in the game, using all the main characters to tell the story of the Harlequin toad in the Amazon and why this creature needs our help and needs us to support them. Then there is Idle Miner Tycoon from Ubisoft Colibri. They have focused this year on the manta ray in the Western Indian Ocean. They have created a brand new character in the game, a marine biologist that throughout your gameplay teaches players about the challenges that the ocean is currently facing. And then lastly, there is Angry Birds Match from Rovio, who have actually focused on all 3 species and ecosystems and have introduced that to their players to different weekly events. So these are all completely different things. There's no one way, but your studio, your team, you know your players best, you know what's doable within your team. So yeah, we kind of leave that up to you to come up with the creative part. And then last but not least, the community piece is really essential. We at Playing for the Planet, we are here to help. The work is all done and led by the studios themselves, and topics come up. Studios are interested to learn more, for example, about how they can reduce plastics in packaging of games. So this is something that some of our members are working on. And yeah, different topics that we focus on besides decarbonization and the Green Game Jam are all member-led, and we are here at Playing for the Planet to help and facilitate that and to connect like-minded people who are working on the same topic with each other. And as you see, one of our members here is Supercell, a founding member who's been on board since 2019. And with that, I would love to hand it over to Deb to share with you a little bit more about Supercell's journey on being a more environmental friendly company.
Thanks, Lisa and Franzi. Hey, everybody. Nice to be here. So at Supercell, when we think about our games and our business, really it starts with our mission statement. And our dream within Supercell is really to try to create games that will be played by as many people as possible for years and then remembered forever. So everything that we do at the company is really through the lens of how do we best serve our players. Without our players, we wouldn't exist. So we have to try to do everything we can to make sure they have the best experience. And when it comes to that piece about remembered forever, it's also about trying to be remembered in the right way, right? Or being remembered for the right reasons. And that's why some of these things that have come up here today are also really important. So this is just a snapshot of some of the things that we did within the Green Game Jam this year, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a second. But when it comes to social impact within the company, that's not really a new thing for Supercell. So I'm on the Give Back team, and that's the philanthropic arm of the company. So over the last 7 to 10 years, we've provided funding for lots of different causes and organizations, both locally and globally. We do a lot when it comes to education innovation, as well as the environment, and then also humanitarian aid. And especially that last piece often can be driven by our players as well. So we've done campaigns with RED, for example. There's another charity we support yearly called Special Effect. They work with gamers that have disabilities and trying to give them access to play. And every year there's something called One Special Day that actually a lot of the gaming industry rallies around. So those are just some of the examples, but we've also done things for disaster relief or earthquakes. And as I mentioned, sometimes that actually comes to us from our players. So our community managers will let us know, like, hey, our players are really caring about this issue, and then we try to make a space for that within our games. But when it comes to the Green Game Jam, and we're not new to Playing for the Planet either, but the Jam, we actually only participated for the first time officially last year. And last year, the theme of the jam was food, forests, and the future. As Lisa mentioned, there's always a different theme that studios will rally around. And so at Supercell, we decided to focus on this food piece, also because we have a game called Heyday, which is a farming game. So it's a kind of a nice match. And for Heyday, it was the 10th anniversary of the game, and there was a time capsule event that was happening. And within that time capsule, one of the events that we did was all around regenerative agriculture. And the event was called Farmers for Farmers. So farmers within the game had to reach a collective goal to try to unlock funding to train farmers in real life in regenerative agricultural practices. And this was really great just to try to mirror something that's happening in-game with something that can then translate to action in the real world. And also try to educate our players about this connection between healthy soil equals healthy food equals healthy people. And alongside that, we also released a cookbook for Heyday. A lot of different influencers shared recipes. And one of the recipes we had in the cookbook was also done by a sustainable farmer, a sixth-generation African-American farmer in the States. And all of that to say, we were really pleased at what we did last year, and we actually managed to snag a couple of awards. We won UNEP Choice and then also Best in Food, which for us was just really encouraging to do more, to be honest. And then we did more this year. So we went from last year doing one game or participating with one of our games to this year participating with 3 of our games. One of them is Brawl Stars. We focused on the Harlequin Toad and the Amazon. We had a season within the game around like a rumble in the jungle. So again, it was a really nice tie-in. And then players, when they played the event, they also got to receive rewards like emotes and sprays, for example. Then for Clash Royale, we actually created some really nice artwork around all the 3 different species that Lisa mentioned. And players were able to support by getting some of that artwork. And then within the game, in the inbox, we also shared some educational information about the sort of challenges that some of these different species face. And then also trying to direct players towards the partner platform we were working with called Milky Wire, where the organizations on the ground shared more information too. And then the last of our campaigns was in our game Boom Beach. And this was our most involved. And as Lisa mentioned as well, like there's no one size fits all. You really have to try to create content that sits well within the unique context of your game and of your player base. And as well, like the teams, all the different teams in our studio, they have a lot of autonomy, which means that something that one team does may not be possible for another. So trying to work with different deadlines and development pipelines and trying to make sure that, the game teams are also excited about doing this stuff and find it fun rather than that it's stressful and it's a chore and just something else they have to slot into their day. So like trying to find that happy medium to get people on the ladder to do more, I think is also really important. And then we were really lucky with Boom Beach as well. Again, we won UNEP Choice 2nd year in a row, and we also won Media's Choice this year. So I'll chat a little bit more about this particular campaign. One of the reasons that this one was quite unique for us, actually, is because I mentioned these millions of players that we have all around the world, which we're really, really lucky to get to engage with. But that ecosystem wouldn't be complete without the creators that sit alongside that. So creators, they make a load of different content and engage with their player base around these games that they love. And so we thought that for trying to tell this story of conservation, who better to tell it than the creators? Because the players already know them, trust them, love them, rather than one of us at the company, for example. And so we had the creators actually meet with the conservationists and learn about the different challenges that, in this case, sea turtles face. I'll tell you about why it's sea turtles in a second. And also understand more about turtle tagging and migratory patterns and that kind of thing, and really try to convey all the amazing work that these kinds of organizations do on the ground. And of course, we had to add in the pictures of the baby turtles. But I say sea turtles as well. I don't know if any of you have played Boom Beach. Anyone? Not a single soul. That's rare. But regardless, so Boom Beach takes place in this beautiful archipelago. There are lots of sea turtles within the context of the game. The villain of the game is called Dr. T, and he's the person that all the players kind of have to rally their troops to kind of combat. And this is important for context. We'll get to that in just a second. And Dr. T, one more thing, he kind of hates everything and everybody except for sea turtles, yeah? So just to go into a bit more of this player journey. So what would players actually experience when we create this content for them in games? So first off, all those little turtles that we have in the game, they went missing. So they disappeared from the in-game experience. And then to coincide with that, we had some art on social media that was basically like a missing poster, like, where have the turtles gone? And so players started to wonder, like, oh, this is strange. Well, what's happening, right? Then we released this launch video, which was almost like a bite-sized documentary where, as I mentioned, we had the creators actually interview and talk to the conservationists, see their work, etc. And then alongside the live-action piece, there was an animation that was created where Dr. T, who's the villain, we all remember, has basically created this crazy droid turtle, this mechanical turtle, to destroy all of the troops or all the players in the game. But unfortunately, this droid turtle has malfunctioned. And so now he has come to the players to ask for help and actually work together with them to try to defeat this mechanical turtle so we can save the real ones. This is just a screenshot from the animation. And then this teed up an event within the game where players then actually had to defeat this mechanical turtle. And when they did that, they got to receive little turtle trophies for the bases. And they also had the chance to purchase Dr. T and turtle statues, the proceeds of which went towards sea turtle conservation. And then sitting alongside that, we also had the creators themselves make their own content. And they got the player community to rally around adopting a turtle. So the game actually adopted a turtle that you actually also get to meet within this little bite-sized doc. And the players then got to name their community turtle. And then lastly, to sort of wrap it all up, of course, the turtles came back within the game once this mechanical turtle was defeated. And the players then also got to follow the migratory pattern of the sea turtle online, thanks to the Sea Turtle Conservancy. And in case anyone is wondering what the turtle was called, it was called Dr. Turtle, because we know the villain was Dr. T. So that's just a little bit of a glimpse inside one of the campaigns that we ran. But I think, Franzi talked a lot about walking the talk. And so I just quickly wanted to share a little bit about Supercell's journey as a company, which is, equally, if not more important. Because I think if we are trying to ask our players to participate in these things or to live these values, then we also have to live them as a company. So our journey started in 2019. We started accounting and offsetting our footprint and our CO2 numbers for 2018. And then we also became a founding member of Playing for the Planet. And when we joined Playing for the Planet, we made commitments, which you have to do to be a member. We committed to offset 200% of our direct carbon footprint, as well as 100% of the footprint of our players caused by playing our games. And then lastly, we also committed to open sourcing a lot of our process so that other gaming companies could try to learn from how far we'd gotten so far. And then, fast forward a couple of years, we continued our accounting. Our emissions for 2021 were something around 35,000 metric tons. And we had a few different projects that we offset through that were vetted by a third party, mostly to do with forest conservation and forest restoration, biodiversity, and also anti-poaching. So we had different projects within Cambodia, Lake Kariba, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and India too. And then when we look at today, of course, we're still supporting Playing for the Planet. And we sit on the advisory board for Playing for the Planet, and we're also one of the main sponsors. And then when it comes to our emissions, actually, and our offsets, we've actually kind of hit a snag because maybe some of you in the room know that things like offsetting and carbon credits are actually very controversial. It's hard to find credible projects these days. to actually offset through. So we've done our accounting, but we've yet to find a place to really offset through. And so what we're looking into more these days is things like new green energy and carbon removal tech, as opposed to just traditional compensation. And then as well, we're always looking at how we can actually mitigate or reduce our footprint, because that's really the most important thing. And for us, that means how we run our business at all our different global offices. But a huge thing for us is actually business travel, because of course we are a global company. We need to gather. It's important, like we're doing here. But how do we do that in a more environmentally friendly way? So one of the examples I can share is the last couple of years, we always have a global offset every year. Sorry, global offsite every year. And for the last couple of years, we've actually held it in Finland, where most of our employees are based, as opposed to an exotic location, which of course is nice and sunny, but not as environmentally friendly. So. Yeah, and with that, I will hand it back to Lisa to wrap us up and let you know how you can get started.
Thank you. So we hope that we have, by sharing what Google's doing, what we're up to at Playing for the Planet, and what Supercell's doing, have sparked some interest for all of you to start your own journey at work. We would love to encourage you to scan this QR code and do our climate check, or find it on our website at a later moment, because this is a very short survey where we ask you a couple of questions so that we can understand what you are already doing at your organization. And after that, we'll guide you to a page of resources to get you started or to level up what you are doing at work. So first of all, we would love it when you take the climate check. But secondly, if you are in the games industry and would love to learn from and with industry peers, we're always happy to onboard new members into the Alliance. All you need is one live game on the market. And we're very happy to welcome you there. And then I think, last but not least, we found each other. None of us has anything climate related in our job descriptions. We all decided at one point in our career that we wanted to do more. For example, I was at WUGA before, where I kicked off a lot of the sustainability work, and nobody asked me to do it, but I felt like doing that. And it's the same for Franzi and Deb. We all felt like we could do more at work. So we would really encourage all of you to find peers within your organization, because if you are interested in this topic, you are never the only one, and it's more fun and nicer to do the work with someone else and see how you can involve and encourage your companies to do better. And I think the cool thing for us is we do not work at the same company, but we get to interact and work with each other on a weekly basis, and we actually became good friends out of all of that. So I think, yeah, for all of you in the room and online, we'd love to hear from you in the climate check. Come join us within the Alliance, and yeah, find each other, and let's help each other out so that we can all do the work and make a difference. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Ja, vielen Dank. Thank you. Thank you so much.